Developing now, Russian forces struggling to take control of the country. The International Atomic Energy Agency has announced that Russian forces have transferred control of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. So far, Russia has pulled back 3 convoys of troops, now moving toward Belarus. Ukraine says its forces have taken back a village near Chernobyl, while Russia pledges to reduce its military operations in the area, even though they continue airstrikes on that city. My co-anchor and senior national correspondent Terry Moran joining us now live from Lviv. So, Terry, what's the significance of what's happening now with the Chernobyl nuclear plant? A lot of questions about that to John Kirby just now.
Absolutely, and there are concerns about it because there were reports that some of the Russians who had been occupying that plant had shown up with radiation sickness, which would be a very bad sign indeed. There was some concern that perhaps they've been driving around and kicking up dust in what's considered what's called the Red Forest, which is a very highly contaminated area. But it's unclear at this point. Russia's denying those reports, and nuclear power experts say that even if they were doing that, it probably wouldn't make them sick. That's a very highly charged, high dosage of radiation, which would lead to an immediate sickness. On the other hand, what you're also seeing is Russia's basically licking its wounds right now, retreating from places around Kyiv because they could not accomplish their goals. They were smashed repeatedly in counterattacks by the Ukrainian army. And while they called it a de-escalation, what it now looks like, it's really a redeployment so that they can resupply, catch their breath, come back with a better plan, perhaps a fiercer force, and attack again. This war is not slowing down or coming to a close at all anytime soon. That's what it looks like for sure.
And just before we heard John Kirby speak at the Pentagon, we heard from the President of the United States addressing the nation. Terry, I know you were listening. Intel officials claiming that Russian President Vladimir Putin has been misinformed by his advisors about Ukraine. The president even saying last hour that there is an indication that Putin's advisors have either been fired or put on house arrest. What do you know?
Well, we know that we don't know. Look, this is the big mystery in this war. What's going through Putin's mind? Why did he launch the attack on Ukraine? What is he thinking now that it has foundered? And what the United States is doing is using some intelligence that is actually pretty granular in some ways. It is clear that they believe they have direct access to what Putin is being told because in the Pentagon's telling, Vladimir Putin did not even know that conscripts, not professional career soldiers, but conscripts were being sent into Ukraine and being lost at great numbers or even deserting in some ways. And that demonstrates, and I think was a signal to the Kremlin, we do know what's going on there, and we know that Putin is not getting the full truth. You also heard the president talk about top aides being under house arrest. Putin is clearly not happy that what he believed, it seemed, was a war plan that would get him quick, efficient control of Ukraine when Ukrainians would welcome Russian troops has turned into a quagmire already. But what the United States is trying to signal to Putin is you aren't getting the full story. And they're also setting the ground for understanding what comes next, that this could be a man out of touch who could lash out blindly almost out of frustration about what's happening here. He's a dangerous person, even more so now than he was when he launched the war.
Indeed, that's true. And a British spy chief has detailed intelligence now on the Russian military. Let's take a listen. I want to get you to respond, Terry.
We've seen Russian soldiers, short of weapons and morale, refusing to carry out orders, sabotaging their own equipment, and even accidentally shooting down their own aircraft.
This is pretty significant intel.
Staggering, if true, isn't it, Kira? I mean, it's just you can't believe that there is a force from a major power in the field fragging its own aircraft, or trying to. That's what the British were implying, trying to shoot down its own aircraft. There have been many reports that here in Ukraine that Russian soldiers are trying to surrender. Sometimes they're afraid to. They think they'll get shot, understandably, and they're afraid if they turn back, they'll also end up in trouble. So they're occupying houses and trying to hide from their own commanders. The U.S. and U.K. believe that one of the reasons Russia has had so many generals killed, it's because the generals have to come up to the front line to get the troops to move and do what they're told, because motivation is such an issue. It does look like they have serious problems. And this was the flower of the Russian army, the cream of the crop, the professional soldiers, the best equipment. If the plan now at the Kremlin is to tactically withdraw, regroup, resupply, bring reinforcements in, and find another way to defeat Ukraine entirely, maybe with just brute force, but it's hard to see if the best of the Russian army only got this far. And believe me, they've done a lot of damage, killed a lot of people, taken territory around this country. Can the second string do any better?
Meanwhile, progress within peace talks. You know, U.S. officials are not taking Russia at its word, clearly, that it would reduce its military operations and that they were focused on Russia's actions. You see these strikes happening all at the same time when they are supposed to be helping civilians evacuate, even back out of certain areas. But it just seems like this has all been false promises.
Well, and President Zelensky here from the beginning said, don't get your hopes up, basically. The Russian forces can still attack us and do serious damage to us. But he also has committed his country to genuine negotiations, and it is clear that from what he has told the Ukrainian people that there are genuine conversations going on. They are talking about the parameters of some kind of a deal. They're still very far away, but partly because of the way the Ukrainian military has countered the Russian attack and counterattacked itself. Russia's at the table with some proposals as well. It is probably the case that at this point, not enough blood has been spilled, that both sides will have to be exhausted and desperate for any kind of deal to be done. That's what military experts who've seen and studied wars like this believe, that this is not going to be a war to the death. It doesn't look like either side can win, but neither side is willing to do a deal yet either.
Terry, you're there in Lviv. Our James Longman is reporting for us on the war in Kyiv. You probably saw it this morning where that explosion erupted just a few blocks from him. We just want to take a look at this and get your reaction. As we see the video, we see how close that explosion was, or that strike was. Give us an idea, Terry, just so our viewers understand how you, our crew, all of our ABC journalists are doing the best that they can to keep safe while covering this war.
That is the challenge, of course, and it's an important one. Kyiv, much more under the guns than Lviv. But here as well, on Saturday, when I was out here on the balcony, there were 3 missile strikes on a hill just about a mile away. Earlier in the day, 3 in the other directions. But Kyiv is getting it much worse, of course. That's a major Russian objective. And the way you stay safe is you listen for the alarms, you stay safe at that time, and you stay away from places that might be targets. For example, there is a military academy here that I had visited before the war, seen the young cadets preparing for what was going to be the defense of their country. And I thought, foolishly, when I got here, I should go back and see what's going on there. And our colleagues here said, you don't go back to a military academy, because it could be hit at any minute. And there are power stations, communications towers. There are places that are known to be potential targets. And so you map those out, you try to steer clear of there, and you listen to the advice of our security experts who are here with us to advise us and protect us. And when we do go out around town or on road trips, that is very carefully planned. You can't eliminate the risk. You try to understand it and management and weigh it against the value of what you're trying to do here. And I know James is doing that, and his team are doing that in Kyiv under much tougher circumstances, as I say, but we do it as well. And that's what so many of our colleagues from news organizations across the world are doing, to bring the truth of what's happening here to the world.
Something that's very important, but also your wife is going to be very happy to hear. It's quite different in Lviv at the moment. We can't wait till you get home, Terry. That's for sure. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Kieran.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.